As of today, Spain is the fourth largest country in Europe, covering 195,000 square miles. It shares borders with Portugal to the west and France and Andorra to the north. Additionally, Spain controls the Mediterranean islands and the Canary Islands in the Atlantic. However, in the early 19th century, Spain controlled an area of 5 million square miles, stretching from Northern America to Southern America, including Argentina. It didn't stop there. On the other side of the Pacific Ocean, the Philippines was also under Spanish control. The question arises, how did such a small country build such a huge empire? And what happened that caused the world's first and fastest growing superpower to collapse so quickly, leaving just this one country? This is the story of a country that became the fastest world superpower in human history and then quickly fell. In today's video, we will learn how Spain became the first superpower in the world and how the mighty Spanish Empire collapsed. Let's go back to the 8th century when present-day Spain was under Muslim control, known then as Al-Andalus. Muslims ruled Spain for about 800 years. During these years, Spain saw much development in science, philosophy, and architecture. However, the Muslim Empire faced constant resistance from Christians, known as the Reconquista. By the end of the 15th century, Christians had regained control of 90% of Spain, and Muslims were only left in Granada. By the 15th century, Spain was divided into 3 Christian kingdoms and 1 Islamic kingdom. Then in 1469, to strengthen Christian control and finally remove Muslims from Spain, Queen Isabella of Castile and King Ferdinand II of Aragon married. Together, they defeated the Muslim army in the Battle of Granada in 1492 and took full control of Spain. After regaining control, these Christian kingdoms had the opportunity to explore the rest of the world and benefit from new international trade routes. Spain was closely following the Portuguese Empire, which had already discovered trade routes across the Atlantic Ocean, reaching South Asia and East Asia about 70 years earlier. At that time, the Ottoman Empire controlled most of the trade in Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. In 1480, an Italian explorer named Christopher Columbus suggested to the Spanish Empire that instead of sailing around Africa to reach Asia, they could sail westward to get there faster. No one knew what was across the Atlantic Ocean at that time. Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand liked Columbus's idea because they wanted the Spanish Empire to discover trade routes quickly, just like the Portuguese Empire. On August 3, 1492, Columbus set sail from the Spanish city of Palos with 3 small ships. After 2 months at sea, he reached an island, thinking he had arrived in Eastern Asia. He named the island San Salvador. He then went to the Bahamas, northern Cuba, and returned to Spain in 1493 to tell Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand about the many undiscovered islands on the western side. King and Queen were very pleased and sent Columbus back in 1493 with 17 ships to explore further. This time, Columbus discovered all the Caribbean islands and met with the local people. He returned to Spain by 1496. In 1498, Columbus made a 3rd trip, this time discovering Trinidad, Venezuela, and the northern part of South America. Until now, he believed he was discovering islands in Asia. However, during this 3rd trip, he realized he had discovered an unknown continent. Columbus made last trip in 1502, discovering countries like Panama, Jamaica, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Unfortunately, he fell seriously ill and had to return to Spain, where he died in 1506. Although Columbus did not find a short route to Asia, this discovery of this new continent shook the entire world and changed everything. With these discoveries, a problem arose between Spain and Portugal about who would control the new lands. To resolve this, a treaty was signed between the 2 empires. After this treaty, the Spanish Empire began establishing permanent settlements in the new continent. The first city built by the Spanish was Santo Domingo. Gradually, by 1550, they populated the rest of the Caribbean islands and central regions, with Cuba becoming the headquarters of the Spanish Empire in this area. Meanwhile, the exploration of other parts of America continued. Spanish explorers reached the Yucatan Islands and learned about a very powerful and wealthy civilization in the west. To find it, in 1518, an explorer named Hernán Cortés landed on the coast of Mexico. At that time, the Aztec Empire ruled Mexico, with a capital city built on a lake. After 2 years of fighting, Hernán took control of the capital in 1520, which later became Mexico City, the administrative capital of the Spanish Empire. However, a major problem arose because the Spanish brought many diseases that the local people had no immunity against, leading to the death of millions. Just as the Spanish Empire took control of the northern side, they learned about other advanced civilizations in South America, specifically the Inca civilization along the Andes mountain range in present-day Peru, Ecuador, and Bolivia. In the next 12 years, the Spanish Empire conquered this entire area, aided by the diseases they brought, which decimated the local population and made it easier for the Spanish army to capture cities. By 1530, the Spanish Empire controlled all the highlighted yellow areas. Until then, Northern America, which we now know as the USA and Canada, had not been discovered. Only in 1539 did a Spanish explorer named Fernando de Soto travel through Florida, Georgia, and Texas. However, the Spanish Empire did not establish an official colony there. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Pacific Ocean, Spanish explorer Ferdinand Magellan discovered the islands we now call the Philippines. By 1620, the Spanish Empire had full control over the Philippines and was keeping an eye on Asian geopolitics. As the Spanish Empire expanded in the 16th century, they needed more resources and money, leading them to aggressively search for resources in South America. They found many gold and silver mines in Mexico, Bolivia, and Peru, sending gold and silver back to Spain. By the end of the 16th century, so much gold was coming to Spain from South America that they ran out of space to store it. Spain received 30% of the world's gold and silver supply. As resources from South America were depleting, a strange hybrid society was forming. There was a mestizo population made up of people from Spain who married local women. Their children were called mestizos. Then there were the criollos, born in America to Spanish parents. Lastly, there were the peninsulares, pure-blood individuals sent from Spain to rule. These groups created a ruling class, leading to significant conflicts over 3 centuries. Criollos and mestizos felt that the locals born there should rule instead of Spaniards coming from abroad. While internal issues arose within the Spanish Empire, external threats also emerged. British and French explorers began arriving in Northern America, establishing their own colonies. The British tried to take control of Jamaica and other Caribbean islands from the Spanish Empire, leading to wars between 1654 and 1660 over these islands. In the next century, the Spanish Empire expanded only to California and Texas, founding cities like Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Francisco. Then, in 1808, the Spanish Empire faced a significant blow when Napoleon attacked Spain and took control in just 1 year. The Criollo and Mestizo populations in South America saw an opportunity to gain independence and revolted against the Spanish Empire. Between 1808 and 1810, wars for independence began in these regions. Argentina was the first to declare independence in 1816, followed by Chile in 1818 and Colombia in 1819. 2 years later, Mexico also gained independence from Spanish control. And finally, in 1824, Peru declared independence as well. In just 8 years, the 400-year-old Spanish Empire collapsed. By the end of the 19th century, only Cuba, Puerto Rico, a few Caribbean islands, and the Philippines remained under Spanish control. In 1895, the War of Independence began in Cuba, involving the USA. 3 years later, the Spanish Empire surrendered, losing its last remaining territories. The once mighty Spanish Empire, which had ruled half the world and controlled 80% of the world's gold supply, collapsed, leaving only this small island we now call Spain. So that was the story of Spain. We will bring you more videos about the history and downfall of great empires. If you liked this idea, please let us know in the comments so we can create more videos like this. We look forward to your comments, as the next video will be based on your suggestions. Take care. Goodbye.